Welcome back, folks. I'm Rudy with Alpha Investments, where we discuss the cardboard life. We take risks, we calculate things, and we spin the wheel on what we're going to make up and manipulate today, right? Today we have, what do we have? Oh, we're in a different area. Slightly, so over here we have the infamous failed Boulder's Gate situation for draft boxes. A lot of this has been here a really long time, so hope you guys are having a great day. Sorry for cutting yesterday's video off. A family member was changing the batteries in smoke alarms and hit the test button, and they started beeping, and it freaked me out. Gave me a gray hair. All right. But yeah, it's kind of funny seeing all this over here today. You know, this was a pile of Boulder's Gate draft from leftover from release on the from the patrons and everything, and a lot of this stuff I just couldn't sell because it was dead product back in I think this was March of 2022, so 3 years and 3 months ago. So obviously now it's pretty in demand and the price has doubled, but back then trying to sell these boxes for $80 a box or $79.99 or whatever, and that's with shipping and I pay your PayPal fees and everything, was met with a lot of anger and a lot of F you, Rudy. So that's what my leftover Boulder's Gate draft looks like, everyone. Over here, we have, this is the remainder of the Ixalan. So Ixalan went out of print, and when they cut everything off, that was the last little bit of cases that I have left, and that's it, because they cut it off quicker than I thought they would. Alright, so updating, finishing yesterday's conversation. You know, I would love to be able to preach and pitch vintage Magic to you guys, and Rudy's all-time favorite, Arabian Nights, and of course, kind of the 93, 94 era of Magic, and I'd love to be able to discuss, you know, dual lands and revised dual lands, the cornerstone of the foundation of the vintage market, which are not doing bad, but at the same time, they're not exactly in high demand, people panicking to buy them. But, you know, the vintage market is stable, which I think is a very big step. That's positive. At least I can say, you know, in the vintage world, like, nothing's tanking. At least we're confident to say the vintage market has just been flat, which I think is probably a pretty big success at this point in time, if you ask me, everybody. But looking at this, I want to comment real quick before we go to the Final Fantasy talk today. Ravnica Remastered collector boxes. I promised you guys a follow-up video, and a lot of you guys messaged me last night wanting more information on this, and a lot of you all weren't around at the beginning of 2024, about a year and a half ago, just to give you all a recap. So the bottom of the crash for Magic, post-Magic 30, bear market, Cynthia Philip Morris Williams selling cigarettes to all of us. And of course, you know, you guys know Cynthia Williams, the head of Wizards of the Coast. You know, when she left the company, you know, she's selling Funko Pops now. Anyways. And of course, before Wizards of the Coast, you know, Cynthia Williams worked at like Amazon. And then before that, Philip Morris corporate selling cigarettes. It's kind of crazy that she would be a great fit, but we all know Cynthia Williams was pretty much responsible for the Amazon expansion, Amazon dumps, because of her connections from Amazon. That was kind of one of her tells, as they said. Cynthia left. Wizards corporate did a lot of restructuring, and well, the bear market ended because they stopped being stupid as shit, and they realized trying to pitch Game Piece Army and overprinting, well, isn't a very profitable business for a billion-dollar company. So here we are. Magic market is booming. People are crazy, and everyone's angry because prices are expensive. And most of that's Rudy's fault. So, those of you guys weren't around back then, during all the Black Friday, you know, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, Stepsister Tuesday era, everybody would panic for the last 3 years because of the Amazon dumps and collapsing Magic products of collector boxes, set boxes, draft boxes, commander decks. It was a very dark period and a black eye on Magic's history. And, well, I reported to you all in about 10 plus videos that I saw signs the market had bottomed and there was some corporate restructuring and everybody needed to make proper decisions, because going into 2024, this was in October, November, December of 23, I said we could be in for a rip rocket bull market and everybody needs to be prepared because nobody had exposure to new magic. Everybody had fire sold everything. I mean, the amount of people, stores, collectors, evil little Rudies and investors, everybody was dumping everything. Modern day magic collector boxes were considered toxic assets. Boulder's Gate was a toxic asset. Everything was toxic. And everybody just fire sold everything. And I was the only moron that was yelling on the internet that this is it. We need to be greedy. And it was a very dark, difficult time. And quite frankly, nobody believed me. And I took a lot of hate and criticism. And I lost a lot of patrons, a lot of anger, a lot of death threats, a lot of not positive flack for that era. Thankfully, it was something I got right. And, right when that time period was happening, this was right before the release of Ravnica Remastered. And everybody, the internet had stated, nobody should buy Ravnica Remastered collector boxes because there's no value in them, because Wizards destroyed all cards in Ravnica that had value by reprinting them in secret lairs in Ravnica sets. There was just nothing left of value in Modern or in the Ravnica realm. And there was some truth to that. But what I saw was a company that was going to reduce the print run on collector boxes. And I knew that was going to happen. I had information that was solid, that was very legitimate. And I reported to you all that I can legally say certain things, but I told everybody the market's about to change and collector boxes are going to be collectible again. And I went very, very heavy on Ravnica Remastered collector boxes. Now, at that time, store cost for Ravnica Remastered collector boxes, I think, was like $225. I think it was the same as Boulder's Gate. And I went big. Thousands, I mean, 2,000-3,000 collector boxes. I ran multiple, no, not multiple, I'm sorry, I'm lying. I ran one patron sale on the collector boxes. And I sold them to patrons for like $2.19 a box. And I'll be honest with you all, it didn't sell that great. I sold maybe 40 to 50%, if I remember correctly. Or no, wait, maybe I sold most of that wave, but then I got a ton more because nobody wanted it. The point is, I sold a portion of the boxes, but I ended up with a lot of extra. And I remember, oh no, I think I got extras. That was a set. Dude, when you deal with hundreds of these sets, folks, I'm telling you all, it becomes a fucking blur. I'm telling you. So yeah, I will misspeak and get confused because when you deal with, like, after literally 30, 40 Magic releases, 30 Pokemon releases, 30, 40 Weiss, Flesh and Blood, like, you're talking hundreds of releases. And, you know, it's just, it really blurs together. Point is, I remember selling them to patrons, and I just remember people weren't very excited about it. I remember there was no hype. There was very, here's the pump and dump Rudy to get it off the books. There was negativity from everybody. And I just remember telling everyone. And I remember getting a lot of you all private messaging me on Patreon saying, yo, Rudy, honestly, and I was like, are you really this and that? Are you keeping any for yourself? Is it? And I remember telling a lot of long-term patrons, if you want an honest piece of advice, what I'm telling you is authentic. And I'm going to tell you the same thing I told you before. You need to have exposure to these collector boxes. Ravnica collector boxes are going to have a massive, bright future. And I told everybody at the time, I thought they should have been at least $300 collector boxes. And this is the time when I was selling them for $219. The market was bouncing around, maybe around, the market at the time, TCG Player was maybe $230. So, again, some patrons bought a case from me, 6 boxes, 12 boxes. I think I even offered a master case of 24. And maybe a master case, you've got maybe even 10, 20 bucks off a box, or maybe $500 off a case. So that's what happened. And now here we are in June of 2025. And I'm going to get it front and center for you guys. So a couple disclosures here. Number one, always remember, I'm a very large shareholder in Hasbro with over 20,000 shares of Hasbro now. Number two, no, I don't have any Ravnica Remastered collector boxes to sell you all. So please don't ask. I don't have any for sale. This is if you are interested in what I'm saying. If you believe what I'm saying, you will have to buy from other stores and support other businesses. I will not be selling the Rudy position I have. I do have Ravnica Remastered collector boxes I saved from the release from a year and a half ago because I believed in the product. So let's get those disclosures out of the way. As of the filming of this video, Ravnica Remastered just hit a new all-time high. The collector boxes are now $450 a box. And I'm going to be very, very blunt with you all. If you want some honest, real financial advice of not a dumbass, these are going to be $1,000 collector boxes. Now, for the really special people in the back who are just angry hitting their keyboard because they're angry on their whole, I don't like money game piece army, let me send your stepsister to Florida and then stay in your apartment and be angry. But let me explain it to you and I'll speak slower. Ravnica collector boxes will be $1,000 a box. They will be probably more than that. Now, Rudy, why do you think that? Thank you so much for asking, Penelope. At least we finally got some positive energy from Penelope. The answer to that is look at how many are for sale on the internet. The internet is this thing that connects internet and people and computers, and you see my face through little beep boop computer chips. And then you notice if you freeze it, every video I have less hair because I get to deal with the public. So, Ravnica Remastered collectors, essentially there are very few people holding them because of the timing of the release. This is a similar situation to a Lord of the Rings holiday special thing, but not as extreme. Number 2, the serialized Shocklands and chase cards in it are incredibly expensive. Number 3, if you don't know this, this means you weren't around back then. Ravnica Remastered is one of the easiest sets to pull. Man, I should have eaten 5 orders of waffle fries. Ravnica Remastered is one of the easiest sets in Magic's history to pull serialized cards. If you open a master case of 24 collector boxes, most people get a serialized card every 3 to 6 collector boxes. That is how common serialized cards are in Ravnica. Why? Because, this is where it gets shaky, I emailed myself, how do I say this? I emailed myself, and, well, they cut the print run last minute. So, this is all the information I'm trying to tell you all. This is what's going on. It's going to get more expensive. The cards are very valuable, and people are underestimating what's going on. So that's my speech for the whole thing. Now I gotta get a drink before I finish this video. Oh, God. All right, I'm back. Oh, God. Sometimes my allergies kill me, everybody. So that's the story with Ravnica Remastered. So you have all these things going for it, where you have easy pull rates for serialized cards, you have expensive cards, you have a lower print run, you have the market. If you go on the open market right now, I don't even think are there even 30, 40 boxes of the collector box left. The market is so thin, I don't even think I could buy a master case of 24 boxes without the price going from $450 to probably $500, $600, $700. So you put everything together, and it's a reminder that the market timing and the perspective of everybody really impacts the future value of things. Like, another good example right now is you have Karlov Manor. Like, is anybody realizing, like, Karlov Manor collector boxes are like $190 plus tax? So they're, the all-time high was like $210. And is anybody even paying it? Like, let me give you guys a fun fact. Karlov Manor is now my 3rd best-selling play box to patrons for $118 shipped. Karlov Manor, let me say that again for these special Penelopes in the back. I'm sorry, the negative Nancys who think everything's shit. Karlov Manor is now my number 3 seller of patrons buying play boxes at $118. Because Karlov Manor, why? So 6 months ago, everybody laughed and said, here's Rudy scamming, selling Karlov Manor for $118 a box. Because when Karlov came out, it tanked, and you had a couple months where it was fire sold off the books at losses. So, of course, what happens, and I can always tell, I wake up, and then people start saying, wow, Rudy, are you going to lower the price? And I say no. And now, because Karlov has swung the other way, and is now $125 plus tax, so $140 shipped, and my price is the same, suddenly everyone's excited again. So as I watch the ebbs and flows of human emotions and a bunch of dumbasses in the world, it's interesting to see when you just stay the course and leave everything alone. It's fascinating to see how people view, wow, amazing, oh no, oh wow. It's so wild to see human perspective and how a product is viewed and someone is judged when it just doesn't matter. This is why I remind all the store owners and employees who watch this channel around the country, it's important for you all to remember that no matter how happy or sad your local customers are, or they're loyal, or this and that, or all it takes is for Final Fantasy to come out, and your local store sells it for $7.99 a collector box, and all it takes is for one or two customers to walk in and go crazy on you and attack you or spread on the internet, and it destroys the business. And that's how the internet works. It views everything based on, well, the last available situation, and the most recent emotional response is how a business will be judged. So you have to always take these things into consideration. Now the beauty thing is in my situation, it doesn't really impact the big game in the long-term kind of business direction for someone like me, but it does have serious implications on small businesses around the country. Small LGSs, hundreds of them in all over the United States, and even a lot of them selling Pokemon, are heavily impacted based on how good or bad the last set does and what they charge. Everybody is going to say they always rip off, or this is always the cheapest, based on whatever the most recent situation is. And that's something, as a business owner or an employee, if you have a little company meeting, you need to structure things that make sense long term. People who can't buy from your local store and flip it and double or triple your money, those people are going to hate you no matter what, because they can't scalper scanner 5,000. Give people fair prices and don't cancel their orders, and do the best you can and try to do it as authentic as you can, and it will work out long term. People are always going to be unhappy, and that's part of, being in a normal economy. So what does all this mean? So now we get to the Final Fantasy thing. So the Final Fantasy thing is going to be very volatile at release here in the next 2 weeks, or next 30 days really, because the amount of money required. Like I said, for me alone, Final Fantasy is costing me around $2 million that I have to put up to pull in all this product and all this pallets from all the distributors all the way into Florida here. Tying up that much capital. Now again, most people aren't going to be in that situation, but I also understand the risk going into this. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, and quite frankly, I'm going to offer great prices, and patrons are going to be buying a ton of the play boxes, or play cases, commander deck sets and everything. But like I warned you all, when it comes to the Final Fantasy Collector Commander, and the Final Fantasy Collector boxes, when it comes to these really high demand and low supply items that are really expensive, I'm not going to fire sell them. I don't even really want to sell them. I consider not even selling them at all, just sitting on the whole thing. But then I want to offer at least a fair chance. Am I going to mark them down much? Not really. Am I going to take a little bit of discount off the market? Sure. Am I going to offer large quantities? No. If you want a collector box of Final Fantasy, I'm going to offer them at like one little box. And even then, I may only take $20-$30 off the market price, whatever is at the time, and that's it. And like I told everybody in the last 2 months, that certain items you have to hedge your risk, find the people you trust, and it's going to be expensive, but it's relative. And it's just like the Final Fantasy, the Fallout, the Lord of the Rings, even Doctor Who, even some of these other things, even the Warhammer 40K commander decks from the past. Wow, those got expensive. There's a lot of these things that short term, you may not be comfortable, you may not like the direction of the price, but you really got to step back and just say, the market is really favorable towards collector boxes. They've been going up a lot in value. People really like these. And now the cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows that. So the behavior of everybody is very different also. You have to factor all this in. I can't run a risk of overselling and dealing with problems. So I have to literally limit one little box for collectors. And that's it. If people want to buy them, that's great. If people think I'm overcharging, that's fine. If people want to buy extra and I can't, that's fine too. If people want to skip the whole thing, That's okay. But understand, these products aren't going to collapse. Be very careful listening to anything on social media and the people who are very angry about money-related things. I have never seen demand for Final Fantasy or a Magic set like this. I've never seen it. And I've been doing this my entire life. I've been a part of every amazing, big money release to every collapsing garbage fire dumpster that's ever come out in this Magic industry. I've been doing this for 20 years, 10 years on YouTube, 9 years on Patreon. Dude, I've fucking seen everything at this point, or I feel I have. And I'm telling you all, this is uncharted territory with Final Fantasy. And if it does what I think it's going to do, it's also going to make it worse for things like Spider-Man or Avatar in the future, and some other things that are rumored, but I'm not going to name drop it. And that's where it's at. That's what's going on. So it is going to be a lot of money for a lot of people. And no matter how we all feel about it, the market's already made up its mind. If people are willing to pay $750 plus tax on TCG Player for a collector box, that's $820 shipped for one collector box. At release, if you're paying over $800 already and people are doing it every day, that's people pretty much wanting the product and believing the product's worth that and believing the product could be worth more than that in the future. The market is telling us what things are worth, and it's our job to reflect and look at it and agree or disagree. So same thing with the play boxes. Play boxes now are like $180 plus tax on TCG Player. They're almost $200 shipped for a play box, which I know what's crazy is those things could hit MSRP. You know, they are literally 10 or 20% higher on a play box, and they're actually at MSRP. So that should make a lot of you all out there very happy, right? Is it Taco Tuesday? Wait, 5 roommates, 1 toilet, everyone's angry, Game Piece Army? Okay, it's still below MSRP. You guys should be happy. And it's a really, it's a wild thing how everything is viewed online. So I just want to remind everyone as we end this video here that while everyone is focused on the Final Fantasy, I wanted to give you guys the Ravnica Remastered story today because I thought it was very important to make sure that story about the timing of Ravnica collector boxes and the timing of the release, how everybody hated it, just like Lord of the Rings Holiday, just like Assassin's Creed collectors, and how the future is going to change you and my opinion, right? That came out weird. And I'm telling you all the same thing. Final Fantasy collector boxes are going to be a minimum of $1,000 plus a box, okay? The play boxes, everyone says they'll be printed to oblivion. They're going to drop all the way down. They'll be negative store cost. What's store cost? $125. They're going to be down to like 99. Like, you know, there's all this aggressive negative energy and attitude towards it, and I don't agree with any of it. I think the Final Fantasy set looks fucking amazing. And if it wasn't amazing, the market would think it sucks, and the market would be selling off. And it's not, because the product looks great. The power level, the unique chase cards, the chocobos, the serialized 77 chocobos, the full arts, the characters, the different series, and my god, all the different land cycles, and like, there's a lot going on. Not to mention the surge foils and I mean, it's a good product. The artwork's beautiful. They've got amazing artists on it. They've got incredible flavor and style and lore and feelings that tie to the game. It's just really well done. And the market is reflecting a really good product. And anyone telling you not to buy when you want to, I think you should think for yourself and use your own judgment, because most people are just angry because it's expensive. And it is expensive. And I guarantee you, Wizards of the Coast paid millions of dollars in royalty fees and specialty costs to work with Square to pretty much get the rights just to do this. So yeah, I guarantee you their break-even cost is many millions to do this. And yeah, they're going to make a fortune. Wizards of the Coast on Final Fantasy is not going to make millions in profit. Wizards of the Coast is going to probably, in my opinion, I wouldn't be surprised if WotC Hasbro makes over $100 million profit just on Final Fantasy. No joke. That is my, maybe not at release, but total of the life cycle over the next 6-12 months every time they do restocks and reprints of play boxes. And that's where it's at. So, conclusion of the video, I don't know when vintage, older, modern, Silver Age, master sets, things that are being forgotten about right now because of the bull market in, well, modern Magic and collector boxes. But there will be a time when things rotate out, just like Wall Street. I remember years ago, there was a time when everybody was obsessed with technology stocks when I had a real job. And then all of a sudden, everybody hated tech stocks, and they crashed, and this and that. And then I remember all of a sudden, oil, RBOB gas, refined gasoline, nat gas, all these different commodities and energy and fuel items started to go crazy. Light sweet crude and good old oil per barrel went all the way from 50, 60, 70 a barrel to $110, $120, $150 a barrel. And suddenly, nobody wanted technology stocks on Wall Street, and everybody wanted energy and oil companies. Good old Exxon, Chevron, Conoco, BP, Big Hal, Halliburton, Schlumberger, the slob. And of course, BHP built in all kinds of commodities, gold stocks, it gets, in other words, things rotate, okay? If some of you think the world's going to end, just like it's supposed to end every year, suddenly the stock market, tech stocks, and energy tanks, and suddenly consumer staples, basics, paper towels, toilet paper, cereal, the boring staple stocks, General Mills, Kellogg's, frozen food, all these basic stocks start to do well. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, the boring stuff outperforms. And again, it's not that certain sectors are better than other. Rudy, you're wrong. It's all about NVIDIA and chips and technology. Yeah, right now it is. But we will rotate again. And not if, but when it does, everyone's going to chase it. See, that's the problem with our industry. It's led by social media, and everybody chases the hot sector. And you don't know it's the hot sector until it already skyrockets. Like now, all of you guys messaging me on Ravnica Remastered collector boxes because they hit 450. Okay, where the hell were all of you when I was selling them for $219 and they were all over the internet for $229? Where was everybody? Nobody wanted. And now, what am I supposed to pull out my position and fire sell them and say, "Oh, here you guys go. I know you hated me and you hated Magic back then, but here, I held all my money and I took all this risk and I'm going to go give them away." Like suddenly, the human psyche is an interesting thing. And one of the things we try to focus on this channel is discussing it with you guys, going through it with you guys, and trying to learn from our past good and bad mistakes. And we are trying to help use this information to make better decisions in the future. And right now, the future is Magic the Gathering, Final Fantasy, Edge of Eternities, Pokemon, Black and White coming up. The key is to learn about everything. And you will get further ahead when you learn the most and you take emotion out of these equations. And you're really able to navigate these markets by using just, very calm, good choices and reasoning. Okay? And I think that's really important. So, thank you, everybody. I am excited to finally get through the Final Fantasy release for the next 2 weeks. There may be a reduction in videos over the next 2 weeks because of my workload and working long and late hours. So you may see a reduction in some videos. And that's about it, everyone. It's going to be the summer. We always have this one spike, then everything goes back to normal. And like I told you on the other video, I'm really curious to see what happens after we pass Final Fantasy. How does the market level out and move forward after the vacuum that's sucking all the money in Final Fantasy? Once that passes, what happens next? That is what I'm really excited to see. Because right now, everyone believes during the next 30 days of Final Fantasy, everything else is going to tank. And right now, I'm looking at other products, Innistrad collector boxes, Assassin's Creed collectors. I'm just kind of watching these other products, and I'm like, interesting, right? That's it, folks. And by the way, thanks again, everybody, for all the support and the funny comments and the kindness. PremierCardGrading.com, our little short fun videos that we do every day. It's been unbelievably successful. I mean, we are getting, some days now, we're getting 10, 20 plus new customers a day with PremierCardGrading.com. You guys are loving the slabs. Now that people are handling them, the quality, we're getting tons of repeat business. And, you know, nobody thought it was possible. And I stand by what I told you guys a year ago when I got involved with Premier Card Grading and I took over the United States operations. And I will tell you all the same thing. I told you guys about PCG at the beginning. The card grading market is an interesting thing. And it's severely overdue for someone else to come in, care about the cards, actually look at the cards, grade them and actually verify it, and put a quality label in piece of metal or engraved or slab instead of just the cheapest shit I've seen from some of these grading companies. They're so cocky. They make so much money. Like, I'm sorry, but the big three with PSA, Beckett, and CGC, they make so much money. They don't give two shits about anything. And some of the things I've seen are just mind-bending. So, we're on the right track. We're doing really, really well. Based on the path we're going, I may need to do another expansion. We may need to figure out new operations, probably by the end of the year, going into next year, if the pace we're going continues due to volume and demand from you all. So I have to really thank everybody. It's been unbelievable. Everybody laughed at me and said it was guaranteed to fail, and it is doing far better than I ever thought was possible. So, gotta thank everybody. So remember that if you've never tried it, PremierCardGrading.com, use the coupon code TeamRocket69, one word, and you get $19.98, $20, and you get 1 week turnaround express grading. And I didn't understand how big of a deal that was. Many of you are like, well, Rudy, I'd rather pay standard grading and get a different coupon code. No. I had no idea until LGS's and you guys started messaging me saying, Rudy, this is amazing. I can send in 10 cards, 20 cards, 50 cards, 100 cards, and you can get them, you can run them through your facility, get the cards done in 7 days, and they're getting shipped back to you the following week. And I didn't realize how many stores, they buy these collections or they buy these cards and they need them back because they need the cash flow. I never realized that until I got into this. The turnaround time is by far the most important variable. Now, of course, why people are paying $40, $50, $100, $200, $300 to grade a card is beyond me. But, I didn't realize how big of an impact getting people's stuff turned around at unbelievable speeds, and we're still doing it. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but I was really, really wrong because, man, I didn't realize how many stores and some of you guys are leveraged. You buy these cards and you have 30 days for the credit card payments due and you want the cards returned. And, you guys are sending me these messages saying, Rudy, I sent an order to PSA for 30 cards and it was like 4 months and I had to pay $40 a card and I had to wait 4 months with my money tied up. Like, I was like, dude, this is crazy. So, thank you, everybody. We're going to do it because I want to prove a point. We're going to do it. I'm telling you guys, the big boys and everything, like I've had employees from like PSA and Beckett. Like I've met some of them and they literally know who we are, but they think it's a joke and we're no threat. And I hope it stays that way. I don't want these companies to think like the marketing videos being jokes and hilarious stuff and cringeworthy memes. That's the point, because I don't want the competition to change what they're doing. I want them to remain complacent, ignorant, and cocky, because that is the ultimate free pass. Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a beautiful day out there. As always, remember, if someone's trying to sell you things that are too good to be true, like Final Fantasy products for $99 or anything, but just watch out for the scams. There's a lot of scams and things going on out there, and I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Till we meet again. No Pants Rudy, signing off.